Hi, everybody. It's Miss Celeste here, your professor for ECE 202. Welcome to week 2, part 5 of our lessons here. And today we're going to focus on child center and what does that term mean in regards to your classroom environment and a child center curriculum. First, we are going to just make sure that we are reading our chapters. So this week, you are going to need to read chapters 3, 4, and 6, and then also complete the weekly journal and the weekly assignment, which is a PowerPoint presentation that you will be creating. So there is no discussion this week. I do want you to spend a lot of time on that PowerPoint presentation. Ask me all the questions that you have, either at our live session or feel free to email me what those questions are so I can support you as soon as possible so you can have enough time to complete the PowerPoint on time. Okay. So what is child-centered? So child-centered curriculum means that children take command of their own learning. Teachers are there to provide support and facilitate the child's learning, but children determine the direction of their own learning following their natural curiosities, interests, and passions. So we really want to form that love for learning, but in order to do that, children have to find so many discoveries and own abilities within themselves independently to find what interests them or find their passions or find that desire to learn. So when they're in an environment when, told what to do all the time, they really don't have the opportunities to explore that curiosity that we want them to exercise often and and kind of lead their learning. We want them to find fun first and foremost, because learning is fun and should be taught in that manner. So having an environment where they can independently choose, where they can independently kind of start and finish something at their own pace just creates that desire to learn and really opens that curiosity, that interest, so they can really be successful in their learning, especially in early education, within that classroom, finding that independence, that, responsibility, to say, that classroom and cleaning up after themselves, or responsibility of, eating on their own and, having kind of going through those motions are all learning opportunities that children are discovering sometimes in your environment. So, in order to kind of keep that curiosity and interest going, we have to definitely have these conversations with parents often so they can continue this learning at home. So both environments are balanced and very well balanced for it to continue to be successful. So creating a healthy student-centered learning environment, well, there's many ways that we can do that. So one, really creates a positive and supportive classroom. So when children feel supported and able to explore, it really just kind of gives that energy, right? That positive, calming energy. It also encourages, child's voice and choice. So making sure that their voices matter and that their voices are heard and valued and cared about, and that choices are okay, because we want them to make lots of choices, because there's going to be many opportunities for them to do that throughout their life. And especially when they're, encountering a challenge, we want them to find other choices to make creative solutions. So these are all stemming from that. There is a foundation that is being created into why voices and choices are important, in early education. We also want to encourage risk-taking. And when I say that, I mean trying new things, trying other ways of doing something versus a routine type approach, or just getting them to really be excited to find another way of doing something, because there is going to be opportunities that they're going to need to do that. And then allowing flexibility. That's something that we want to encourage adults, parents, children to be mindful about, that it's okay to change things and find, again, new ways, or or continue what you're doing if it's working. And then also respects, each other's uniqueness and needs. Children do need to be respected on their own uniqueness and needs. It's very important to kind of be mindful of that when you're teaching children. They're not to kind of go, and lead, to your needs. It's really should be more focused on what their needs are and how they learn best. And that's what I would encourage you to do. So benefits of it would be, increasing participation once they feel welcomed and part of the group and heard, and they want to participate, they want to be included, they want to kind of go through the motions of whatever activity you're doing, if that's circle time or a new lesson or sharing ideas. It really improves the skills and critical thinking. So it really gets them to think outside the box, gets them to find other ways that could possibly work, or even suggest, which is a great tool to have, within learning, because we have to try things to see if they work, right? It's kind of part of what we do and what we kind of go through life doing. And then finding a love for learning. So once they feel that it is centered around them, and there are, abilities to kind of lead at their own will, I should say, and kind of have fun with that learning. They find that love for learning because they find so many different discoveries through that process, and it's just so magical to watch. And then positive, relationships with teachers. So teachers are able to kind of spend more time creating those connections and finding, and building solid relationships, with children, which is very magical to watch as well. And then well prepared for what's to come next. So they feel very centered within themselves. They feel very well prepared, confident within their abilities, excited to try new things. And so they're not so much timid in new environments, but yet excited for what's to come next. So the differences between student-centered and teacher-centered classroom, just to be very specific, in a teacher-centered learning, children are directed with instruction. The focus is on the teacher, and the teacher plans lessons. They manage the classroom to their degree. Students are actively engaged in the learning process in student-centered learning when they have that type of approach in their environment. They're able to discover their learning. It's inquiry-based learning. Learners, are able to kind of go at their own pace. They collaborate with their peers. They use other forms of teaching aids, right, to kind of introduce new lessons and new material. Children also, are part of that process to see how they learn. That's what then you would apply certain aids pertaining to those needs specifically. So in a student learning classroom, the teacher's role is really to facilitate the learning rather than deliver the information. This means that students are actively engaged in the learning process, and they are encouraged to think critically and solve problems and draw conclusions and find what works and doesn't work. So having the ability to independently go through this process just allows them to find solutions and solve and critically think and find great ways to kind of think outside the box, because that's what we want to encourage, not just going to a teacher and giving them the answer or doing it for them. We'd rather them go through that process to figure it out. So how do you implement student-centered learning in the classroom? Well, I definitely think you definitely need to release the responsibility from, you. We want the student to be in charge of their learning and expect them to know what to do. But in order to really do that, we have to kind of guide them and show them and go through that process and spend time, because every child's going to grasp that at different times and understand that at different times. So instead of you needing to release a responsibility to them, really focus more on guiding them and preparing them to kind of lead their learning successfully. And again, that can kind of look different for each child. Be flexible with grouping. So student-centered classrooms are flexible, which means that students can be grouped in, many different ways, depending on the task at hand, or, depending on the lesson, or really what's happening. So kind of really have that balance with the groups. Use technology. Technology can be really fun, in the classroom. Encourage students to be self-directed. So students are encouraged to be self-directed learners in a student-centered classroom. This really means that they take responsibility for their learning, set their own goals, and assess their progress. Of course, obviously in an early education class, that's a lot of responsibility to put on a child. So what that looks like for us is really allowing them to choose their learning, and then us, having those observation moments to find what they're learning and what they still need a little bit more time in. Also, setting goals is a really big important part in early education, to find those educational plans for each child, so we make sure that they are successfully learning and progressing, right? So we have to make sure that we're doing that. And then let's make our classroom more student-centered. So if you're not doing that just yet, let's start doing that. Let's create a healthy environment where children can make great choices, and also, just kind of allow the teacher to, have more time observing when you have the children independently choosing and leading their learning. That's okay. You don't need to kind of lead every moment, at every hours of the day. Let them kind of have that lead sometimes, obviously within reason, right? Depending on the age group. But in order for children kind of know how to do that, we have to kind of let them do it. So I definitely encourage you to do that. So thank you so much. I've had so much fun kind of getting to know all of you through these courses. It's been really fun kind of reading a lot of your, work this week, and just kind of diving into your discussions. So please continue to be involved with those, and send me all the questions that you have at any time, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. So again, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Take care and stay healthy.